Maggie, and I am back today with another video. Hopefully you enjoy it. It's a little bit different than what I would normally do, but I thought for some of my followers as well as new people, you might be interested in some of the stories I'm going to tell you. I thought this would be a good way for those of you watching to get to know me a little bit better. These things that I'm going to talk about are things that I don't like talking about. And it's either one of two reasons. So first being, it's just like a deep emotional, private thing that I just like don't feel comfortable talking about a lot. Or it's like super embarrassing and I just don't want you guys to know how clumsy and stupid I really am. So I really hope you enjoy this video and let's get into it. Okay, so for those of you who have followed me for a long time, thank you so much. One thing you might not know about me, and one thing that I don't talk about a lot, is I actually have two chronic illnesses. You guys probably know I have Crohn's disease. I think I talk about it enough. But the other chronic illness that I have is asthma. That was the first one that I was diagnosed with, and it was fairly severe when I was younger, enough that I would have to go to the ER for it. My triggers were always animals, surprisingly enough. Cats especially. I was super allergic to cats. I just couldn't breathe around them. In fact, my eyes would just like blow up and I just couldn't see. So yeah, I did have pretty severe asthma. Ironically enough, when I started treatment for Crohn's disease, I no longer had any asthma symptoms. It has been probably 15 years since my last asthma symptom, which thank goodness, because getting asthma attacks was the worst. They're very scary. I used to take like the normal daily inhaler, and then I would get nebulizer treatments a lot. I wonder if my dad still has my nebulizer, because that would be funny to show you guys. It's like the old school, big, clunky thing, and super loud. I feel like they're much better made nowadays. But yeah, I technically have asthma, even though I am doing very well. Another thing, this is a little bit more serious, another thing I don't talk about a lot is my family. The only person that I really mention is my dad, and that's because he's the one I'm closest to. He was my caregiver growing up, and he was a single dad. Some of you guys know that my mother passed away when I was 13 due to alcoholism, and that was a pretty tragic thing, but I had mentally prepared myself for my entire life because we knew of her illness and we knew it would come one day. But I also have a brother, and I don't think I have ever talked about him on here. I have a brother. He is technically a half-brother, but we never really thought about it like that. But I have a half-brother who we both have different dads. So my mom had married somebody before my dad and had my brother, then 8 years later had me. So my brother's in his mid-30s, or like lower mid-30s. My heating pad got too hot. This is why I have burns on my stomach. My brother's dad did not stick around, and so it was my mom being his caregiver. And I know that my dad had offered to adopt my brother when my dad came into the picture, and my brother's dad said no, didn't allow it, but like didn't do anything for my brother. My brother's name is Patrick, by the way. So I wound up a lot more fortunate than my brother growing up. After my parents separated, my brother basically fended for himself, and that was super hard. And I feel a little bit guilty that I wound up being the lucky one with, you know, a fantastic father. But because of this, I think my brother struggles a lot, and we are not close, I would say. So it sounds kind of odd to say this. We haven't talked. We haven't had any communication in 2 years, but that's kind of how he is. So he will do his own thing and go off and be his person, and then randomly talk to me for a little bit and then disappear. This is the longest amount of time that we haven't spoken, and it does worry me, but like I also can't force a relationship. So it is hard, but that is something I don't really talk about. I don't talk about my family because it's not the best story. It was not a perfect family. I am so thankful for my dad, but the rest of our family, not so great. This next one is silly. So I am not a good driver. Like, be scared if you're driving on the road with me. I'm also distracted. If you guys don't know this about me, I love animals. Like, I love dogs. Dogs are my life. I would give up my life for my dogs because I think that dogs are greater than humans. So how do these two tie together? So this is a funny story about me not being the best driver and very distracted by dogs. Years ago, with my first car, it was a Beetle, it was super cute. Also, it was the worst car I could have bought. I put more money into this 20-year-old car than I did buying it. So, Maggie does also not make good purchases, apparently. But that's not related to this story. So one day, I went to the post office, and this was like back in Maryland with my yellow Beetle, and I was driving into a parking space. I don't know why, but there was a like brick wall divider about 2 feet tall, maybe like 1.5, I don't know. I can't measure things. That was to the left of the parking space, and then all the parking spaces were to the right. And so I was pulling into the space. I had been there a bajillion times because we lived right around the corner. It was like, I was there every day. And off across the street from the parking lot was just like a field. And I was pulling into this spot one day, and I saw a dog, and it was just running loose. And I'm like, dog! Ah! So I'm thinking, like, this dog is a stray. I'm gonna go rescue it. It's gonna be my love forever. It's gonna join the family. So as my mind is portraying this lovely image of my new dog, I drive into the brick wall. So I just drove straight into like the end of the wall. So if this is the wall, this is my Beetle, right over it. And I totally destroyed a lot. I killed the whole radiator, so I had to get my radiator replaced. It immediately started leaking coolant, which was super fun. So to get it to the place to get it fixed, I had to pour in so much coolant, like the fluid, and drive as quickly as I could there because I was just leaking it out. So this is why maybe don't trust me if I'm driving next to you on the road. So as I'm editing this, I realized I forget to tell you guys what happened to that dog. Turns out there was a man with the dog, so I didn't even get my new love of my life. Yeah. Okay, bye. If I see a dog, you're not safe. One thing, okay, this I am not talking about, I'm not going into, is politics. I grew up with a very strong-minded father who spoke of politics all the time, and it was basically beat into my head. It's all I remember, so I don't talk about politics for that reason. But that does not mean I don't have very, very strong opinions about politics. But I have seen the negative ways that people communicate about their different perspectives on Facebook. My friends, I'm appalled at what they say to each other and the things that they post. I have super strong opinions, but I am not being nasty online about them. So I will continue to keep my perspective and my thoughts about it to myself and to my fiance because we have very similar thoughts about it. That is one thing I do not talk about. I don't talk about it. And that leads me to my last thing that I don't really talk about. I don't have anything against talking about it, but sometimes people can be scared of talking about this as well, and that's religion. I don't really talk about religion online a whole lot, or my beliefs or anything, but I am more than happy to share that. So I grew up, we were not religious growing up, at least my immediate family. My mom was religious, but with all of her other things, that was not something that she could invest time into. My dad was not, he is basically, I don't want to say atheist, but he is just I don't think another thing about it. He's very science-based. My mom's side of the family, though, a lot of them are Catholic. I was baptized Catholic, all of that. You know, I didn't have a thought either way until after I graduated college. The last few years I really started thinking about it because I had seen a number of really terrible things go wrong in my life, and I always blamed God, I guess. But I started to see the ways that he would take something really awful and turn it around, and that's when I guess I started to build belief. So yes, I do believe in God. I'm still figuring it out. I don't know my thoughts on it, but that is kind of my religion. And a funny story for you guys to end this video, hopefully you get a kick out of this. My mom's sister I'm pretty close with, and she is very religious. Her whole family is. They are Catholic, and they go to Catholic church, I think every Sunday. They don't miss it. They do all of the steps. I don't even know what they are. Sorry. But I was visiting her at the beach, and we went to church one Sunday, and I was maybe 12, 13, 14, I don't know. And my aunt just assumed that yeah, I had done all of the things that you do when you're Catholic. I had been baptized, so of course I had my first communion and all of that. Well, I didn't. So in this Catholic church, it was time to get communion, and I don't know what I'm doing. And I guess when you walk up, you either, keep your hands together, or there's something that you do, and to be honest, I don't know. At our church that we go to, we pass around a tray with the host. So my aunt just sent me up. She was like, okay, go with your cousin, go get communion. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm talking to my cousin, who's a couple years younger than me, and I'm just walking up like this, I don't know what's going on. I'm not paying attention to the people around me, and everybody else is very, quiet, somber, and just walking up to get the host. And I think you either go like this, or you so they can put the host on your tongue. And I literally didn't know any of this, and I totally screwed it up, and everybody knew. And so I walked back to my aunt after getting this thing that I was so afraid to eat. I didn't know when I was supposed to eat it, so I just held it in my fist literally until 45 minutes later when we were home. I held it through the rest of the service, through the car ride, back to the house. And then when I got home, I was like, sorry God, and I threw it in my mouth and ate it. My aunt was like, did you ever have a first communion? And I said, what's that? And the look on her face, she was like, oh my God, your mom's gonna kill me. I don't know what I'm gonna do. You just had your first communion. Oh God. And so that was the story of my first communion. Sometimes I really feel like my life is a joke, but it's fine. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, learning a little bit more about me and the things that I really don't talk about online. And if you like this video and want to check out the rest of my stuff, learn a little bit about Crohn's disease and ostomy surgery and all of that, and my wacky life, just hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Alright, bye!